All right. So for the start, I mean, maybe we start with you first, since you're a writer there. I mean, how did you come up with the whole setting for the game? I mean, China is, let's say, something new, something fresh, of course, and it's even especially we from a Western gaming community, we're not that used to this kind of setting. So, is this a risk for the series?
I don't think so. I think also probably unfair to suggest that I came up with the idea for Three Kingdoms, but Three Kingdoms was like an idea that we've been having inside the studio for a long time, and our fans have asked about it quite a lot as well. And when we look at the sort of the historical narrative of Three Kingdoms, it's one of the largest, one of the bloodiest conflicts in history. 30 million people died. So at least from a gameplay perspective, it's great. Yeah. From no other perspective, it's pretty awful. But also in terms of like the characters, the setting of the Han Dynasty collapsing and the Dongzhou rising, and these characters with their personal ambitions rising up, that was great for us to want to push our own sort of character narrative as well as sort of the gameplay of a war game.
And then of course you have these two interesting sources here. You have the records of the Three Kingdoms, which is the historical, factual account, and the romance of the Three Kingdoms, which adds a lot of personal flavor and personal stories around these characters. It really fleshes out the sort of factual content. And it was a super interesting perspective, and that helped to inspire a lot of game systems that we actually have in the game now.
Yeah, especially the diplomacy system is like all new and fresh, and even after playing the game for like 2.5 hours now, it really feels absolutely different, and to be honest, it kind of feels overwhelming because suddenly so many new people want something from you as a player. So give us some insight what you did on the AI there.
Well, I mean, obviously the AI was entirely rewritten for the diplomacy system, because to basically be able to handle all the new types of deals you can strike, and to also to have this strong concept of personalities where some vassals might be really loyal or might really want autonomy, and if you give them autonomy, if you promise to never annex them, then they will be happy. So there's lots of more facets on the personality side. And in general, yes, there's a lot of stuff to take in. It's a challenging game. We really wanted to bring back the challenge and depth, especially back to campaign gameplay. It's hopefully exciting for new players and veterans alike.
So, and also we have so many different characters there. Not only the heroes, but of course also all the different factions. Maybe we give the microphone back to you, and because how difficult is it to bring those factions together and also give them their own unique behavior there?
Well, the history and the romance really helped in terms of how we define the characters. So, if we take Liu Bei, who you're playing today, as an example, he is what we would call the closest thing you get to the good guy in Three Kingdoms. He's virtuous, he's humble, from humble beginnings, he's noble. He just wants to see the Han sort of saved and brought back because he has like a nominal attachment to them, like he's related to the Emperor. And that's how you define his campaign, through sort of his righteous movement. You're trying to do what's best for China, and trying to be honourable and noble to all of your diplomatic partners and your allies and the characters that come into your employment. Whereas someone else like Cao Cao, who is way more wily and way more manipulative, might does view people through a different lens. He values valuable people, but has no problem casting them aside if they become useless to him. And again, that's sort of how those characters might feed into your faction. You might get bored of them and send them away. That's how you might play as Cao Cao. So you can already see the subtle ways in which a game, like a campaign, might start to be different for each different character.
In general, we tried to, the viewpoint basically on the different factions was not so much what are they in the end famous for, but more what drove them, what was important for them. Like certain factions like Yuan Shu, they really want to prove that they are legitimate and that they are sort of worthy, that they are actually the emperor. This kind of approach. And then you weigh the humble approach, basically, to get this motivation of these people across. But also, one big change in Three Kingdoms is that your faction traits, your faction specialities are not just like sort of predefined. Depending on who is important in your faction, who's the leader, who's the heir, that will have a big effect, depending on their background, on your faction.
How difficult is it have an inner logic within this whole construction of characters there, because I think it's pretty easy to get some mistakes in there, and player will say that doesn't make sense that he likes him and suddenly declares war to those guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean the whole creating this dynamic system that would encapsulate relationships and opinions. That was quite a challenge, certainly. In the end, it revolves a lot around traits and character attributes. So, because I'm loyal, I might appreciate certain traits in others. So, in a way, it should make sense if I build a friendship with someone that's heavily driven by these traits.
Sort of what we're striving for, especially at the beginning when we create a baseline when the game begins, is like historical authenticity. But as the campaign progresses and a player makes choices and takes control of their campaign, it's inevitable that things are going to transpire differently than they might transpire in either of the research documents or the records or in the romance. And that's fine, because that's a player choice making that. There are some situations that are more difficult, like I doubt that the three brothers here, Liu Bei, Guan Yu and Zhang Fei, will ever break apart, but it's not impossible if their satisfaction and their happiness with each other drops to a certain level through whatever actions. But ultimately it's player control driving forward and then us reflecting their choices back at them to create their narrative.
It's all about this personal story that you create as a player, which was always important in Total War, I think, to get this alternate history, you're retelling the story of the Roman Empire. And with Three Kingdoms, we wanted to create more systems than ever to facilitate this kind of storytelling, Kopfkino, basically to really get that idea across. And you're also allowed to kind of customize your heroes now. We're having loot. You deal with this one. So I mean, obviously, these heroes, one important thing was that their personality is as it was in the books, so we didn't want, I don't know, a lazy Cao Cao or something. So the traits are pretty predefined and based on the attributes, and so the characters will develop, their personality will develop as it was. But there's lots of other customization options like skills, there's ancillaries, you can swap out weapons. If you let's say you kill Guan Yu in battle, you somehow manage that feat, you can loot his helmet. And then one of your characters might feel that in battle and you stat impact from it, so it performs better in battle and you see the model change. So there's a customization that equipment sets.
Why did you come up with the dual mode, and especially with the animations? Because I felt like I was in a Kung Fu movie there.
Perfect answer.
That's basically the answer right there. The wuxia sort of cinema style, that's an important carrier of that cultural legacy of the Three Kingdoms in China and all over the world. And so it was really important for us to capture that.
They create like cinematic moments in your battles and in your large campaign. And the thing we talk about quite a lot is how people might go away and talk about their campaign with somebody else and say, oh, I had this amazing battle between Guan Yu and Lu Bu. It was really close, but Guan Yu just about won it. And it's like you said, creating these cinematic moments, because while we're drawing on the primary sources of the romance and the records, we have also looked to like the popular culture of the Three Kingdoms, so the games, the books, comic books, movies, and just drawn together what makes Three Kingdoms really cool, what people think about Three Kingdoms, how they view it, and then sort of represent that as best as we could.
Because it's very much alive in China, and we wanted to make sure that we do it justice in that sense, and we would treat the material with respect, and basically get all these modern and old sort of highlights of the period across.
I really like those. So I was really enjoying just send those guys into a duel and send the armies out. I was like, okay, you do your stuff, I watch the duel. And a final question when it comes to the battles itself. What are the major changes you made there? I mean, we know that the Total War series is like 18 years or 19 years old now. What are the major changes you have made there?
Well, I mean, the duels are obviously one major new gameplay component. Otherwise, we wanted to, like, as in the campaign where we brought complexity and depth back into the series, really. In Battle equally, we brought back old highlights like formations, where interesting stuff like a circle formation or a hollowed square, You have formations, like mixed formations, where archers, the first rows, can basically get their spears out while the back guys are shooting their arrows. Fatigue plays a more important role now, where it'd actually be a good idea to rotate your melee line occasionally. So there's lots of meat there on the strategic level, just on a unit basis.
Yeah, and you're also allowed to switch day-night cycle there. Is there a difference if I fight by night or by day?
Well, no, I mean that's mainly a sort of artistic thing in battle, but of course it has the impact that you basically reinforcements are cut off.
Yeah.
So by fighting a night battle, you can make sure that reinforcements cannot join the battle.
Night battles have sort of like effects on unit visibility and range as well, whereas on campaign, that it's purely aesthetic. On campaign, just see the day-night cycle, but in battle are subtle things that might help tip a balance one way or the other. Yeah. I think a new thing for battle as well is how the characters interact as well. So like a different element of the character, so like a fire general might be really good at taking on other units, whereas a strategist or water general is much more backline, can't duel, but gives access to formations. So if you haven't got a water general, then you might find it more difficult to form up and be a bit more tactical than you otherwise would be. So they define how the battles run as well.
Because you can generally bring 3 characters with their retinue to battle. It's really about what strength do you want to play out in battle in terms of characters do you bring. If you bring 2 fire characters who are good at fighting lots of men, then yeah, that's your strength. But then heroes who specialize on dueling, they might pick you apart in that sense.
And you also have like a nice body dynamic there because the generals, they basically talk to each other during
one of the more, so like it's not an actual battle mechanic in like the way that they fight each other, but it's another, what we talked about before, way of reflecting the campaign back at you as you're going along. So if you have 2 friends on the same side, like these instances of these guys, they will converse with each other like friends, like ribbing each other, just kind of saying, how many you killed, I killed this many, you can do better than that, etc. Whereas if they're rivals, even on the same side, they will be a bit more scathing, a bit more insulting to one another. And the same thing happens across battle, so between 2 sides, where they'll be shouting insults at each other, or if they were once friends, if the system, the one-sheet system has worked in such a way that you've made friends with someone and they've left and then you ended up on the same battle against each other, you could be seeing things like, how could you betray me, this pains me, how I have to do this, but I will do it. So yeah, I think it brings an extra dynamic layer to how the characters interact.
Yeah. Do you know how many lines you have per character there?
I couldn't tell you the amount off the top of my head, but enough that you won't hopefully feel like it gets repetitive.
Alright, thanks a lot.
No worries, thank you.
Embers rise, stark against the night. The tyrant Dong Zhuo wields the flames of destruction. Luo Yang burns, chaos ignites, as the power of the eunuchs is crushed. In the pyre, the hand falters. Yet the light of the dynasty still simmers in the hearts of its last descendants. Liu Bei swore an oath with his brothers. They pledged their lives. They will defend the Han. Nobody else can.